Good morning, afternoon, evening or night, whenever you're watching this, welcome. I am stood in a small brook and I'm hoping to find things that have been caught in cracks and crevices between cobbles and stones from old mill infrastructure. There has been a considerable amount of industry on this small waterway for at least 500 years, and I'm hoping to find some relics from the lives and pursuits that happened here. To paraphrase Sci Finds, let's get some look in the brook. Now that is some of what I'm hoping to find: old copper and brass things, copper square nails and coins, anything else interesting. I'm open to taking iron too, and of course silver and gold should they happen to make an appearance. It is not going to be easy. Things seem to be cemented into the cracks far more solidly than I was anticipating. That iron, I think, was left here by a magnet fissure. There's a fair-sized pile of old iron left behind on top of one of the walls. We'll have a look at that and maybe try some magnet fishing in a weir upstream, if it doesn't already have a pile of old iron pulled out next to it. Now what is this? It's cast iron, quite old, looks a bit animalistic, like a long-faced goat creature. I think I'm going to take it. It's interesting, and if you know what it is, then please do say. Iron ring, and another. Some stainless steel. Fragment of cast iron. This amount of iron catching here does make me want to get a good discriminating metal detector that can cut through the noise of all this iron and find the other metals. 3 bits of iron stuck together, one of them's a nail, a large bent iron spike, steel bolt, a long nail. I think that's most of what's loose. It's clouding up a bit, and the copper, the brass, they're both in there stuck fast. I'll try with tools, but for the moment carry on looking, scoping out. Doesn't look like the magnet fissure really looked above the weir. Amongst the tools I brought with me today is a homemade scraper with a fairly long prong to get down into deep, narrow gaps. Made of a bit of rebar and 120 or so layers of wood veneer as a sketch model of sorts, proof of concept for a little hatchet I found and want to make a video of restoring. The handle of the hatchet won't be shaped like this. This was an experiment in shaping a handle to fit my own grip, and it fits very well indeed, but I want the hatchet to feel comfortable in any hand that holds it. Anyway, let's give it a try. Okay, it pried up a piece of copper wire. That's a success. It's not really shifting any of the accretion. The point is far too far removed from the downward force I can put into it. It's pretty good at scraping in the cracks, and that is the purpose I made it for. No point dwelling too much on not being quite as well prepared as I thought I was before I actually arrived today. I am quite used to having my over-optimism being stopped dead by reality. can still get into some narrow gaps, and I'm sure I'm going to find things. It can scrape the unconfined and uncompacted riverbed too. Upstream there are buildings built over the water. There are tunnels and a graffiti gallery that I'll enjoy checking out to see what new art might be there. There's a few small beaches and a lot of cobbles which act as riffles catching metal. I noticed coins stuck between them last time I visited the upstream end of today's outing. Now let's take a look at the magnet fishing pile. Rust, and lots of it, and really quite beautiful set out like this. Not the best light for it, but probably worthy of taking a screenshot and posting it on a Rust Appreciation group page on Facebook. There's another one of those Iron Age flux capacitors. No real tines on this one, but it's still a fairly interesting piece of old iron, and I'll take it. A little bit of brass in a cocoon of rust. I'll take it too. Now, anything else of interest? Possibly. No, thought it might be a third of the Y-shaped iron things, but just some angle iron. Oh well. This is not an easy to get into place or easy to get things out of, and that I guess is why the magnet fishers didn't take what they'd found. I wonder how far under the beach does the neat cobbled stonework stretch? As far as the wall, perhaps? It would be interesting digging the tail end of it, because the tail end of beaches is where I often find higher concentrations of copper and brass things, and it would be interesting to see if that means that in the cracks between the cobblestones beneath the beach there's a cluster of copper things. Little bit of copper wire. Brass. Connector for a fire hose maybe. Some PVC pipe. I'll fill my bag with plastic today, mixed with fines. Won't be able to take it all. Lots of wire, lots of plastic. A child's bike buried in the sand. A rare old mess. This beach always seems to catch the worst of a modern mess. Finding the older vintage things amongst it all is less common, like vulcanite bottle stopper, around about 100 years old and quite broken. I'm going to do a loose wander, seeing what of interest I can find first before I do a pass picking up plastic. A little bit of copper wire. The top of an old spray can. Coaxial. I don't mind it like pure scrappers seem to. If you happen to spot anything interesting, then please do shout out. Tines of a fork. About the 4th or 5th time I've had call to use that word today. I generally like finding cutlery, but this one, not so much. A bit more copper wire. I pick it up on a first pass because it's quite well disguised by being roughly the same colour as the rocks, and I sometimes miss it when I've tuned my eyes to spot plastic. First bit of pottery picked up today. It has a little bit of pattern, bit of a tile. Not really something I want. Bit of brick, I think, and I can see something quite unusual for this place. The access hatch to the tunnel beneath is open. I think it carries the water main and the sewer line. Doesn't smell of anything. And the ladder is missing. Makes me wonder, is somebody down there? An explorer perhaps, or maintenance? No sign of light and no call for help. And without the ladder I'm not keen on climbing down there myself. Don't think I'll go any further upstream just yet. Back to my bag, do another sweep of the beach. The litter pick starts now, and generally hang around to see if anyone emerges from the tunnel. I passed this on the way to the hatch, and it is so out of place. A brand new Stanley knife. Got to assume that it might have been chucked over the wall, perhaps shoplifted and chased by security. Trying to change my grip to allow for picking other things up, and it got away from me. I don't think it could have been dropped by a maintenance technician who then dropped down into the tunnel, because there are no footprints in this sand. So, just downstream of a beach I found some copper pipe, and just sticking out of a beach I found a cheap mobile phone, which is certainly here as a result of criminality, if by no other crime than littering. I make no assertions beyond that, just delusions maybe. When I had a phone like this, a few generations older, I was often told in a half-joking manner that it was a drug dealer's special. And I think that that's all the filming this insalubrious beach has for us today. So onwards. I'm not sure what this is from. It's strange really. Looks decorative, but there's no discernible pattern or depiction of anything really in it. Pretty sure that it's not something I would use or incorporate in crafts. This though looks like maybe the head of a pickaxe, without most of the length that a pickaxe would usually have. Perhaps it was corroded away. I do kind of fancy another tool restoration project. I'm in no way convinced that restoring this is possible, but I might explore the possibility. I know it probably can't be true, but it does feel like if I came to this stream every single day, there would always be some copper to find. And it might be a bit of a grotty stream, prone to collecting rubbish, and run through some very rough, run-down places, but I kinda like it. There's a lot of history here, and it feels like it, and of course there's nature starting to reassert itself over the artificial constraints that humans built. Camping style of folk. Doubt there's been much camping alongside this stream. Now just looking, seeing if there's anything visible apart from sand in the cracks. A little bundle of copper wire, and where the stream drops some, there's likely more. Target there. And target there. Okay, rusty nail looking thing. Oh, I see some rust. It's like another rusty nail looking thing. And no, nothing else showing up. So, yeah, and there's probably another target up there. I think they're mostly going to be rusty iron. There are a lot of cobblestones on this stream, and a lot of iron that has been caught up in between them, and I think I want to find a place where there isn't also a lot of sand hiding things, so I can just see rather than scraping. I am quite a lazy metal detectorist. Looks like a square nail. Yes, it's a bit too grubby to be sure what metal it is, but it doesn't look to be rusty, so it's likely copper, I think. Hand-forged and could be older than the cobblestones it was stuck between. I haven't been able to find out exactly when they were laid, but there was once a canal that ran parallel to this stream. It was a truly fascinating piece of engineering, because the water that flowed down this valley was already being used by the mills, and they didn't want to give it up. But they did want a canal to bring them coal for steam engines and to take their produce away, so the water that filled the canal was pumped up from the bottom end of it, using gravity for quite a lot of the work. The engineering project that built the canal ran between 1825 and 1828, and I know for certain that a weir downstream is part of that, and I think that at least part of this stonework was probably put in place around about that time too. Looks like maybe a small valve. Oh, it's out. Yeah, brass. Something. Not sure. Oh dear, I've broken my impromptu pick, made from a piece of steel with metal fatigue. Back to the more sturdy thing, which probably makes unappealing sounds on the video, so perhaps I'll just show when I've pried something loose. Success, a very small hand-forged copper tack. Any more? That may be. No, brick. And something else well stuck. An electrical connector, copper, modern. Oddly, there doesn't seem to be anything much metal in these deeper crevices. Think it's time for a tunnel, maybe? Not a long tunnel, just under one building, I think. Time to get my head torch on. This is either new damage or I was very unobservant the last time I walked this way. Anyway, not going to climb up, not today anyway, though I might be tempted to return sometime and see if it provides access to the abandoned building that's up there, do a bit of urbex. But for today I'm supposed to be mostly looking down, seeing what I can find. There's a little bit of copper right there. Got me a bent piece of copper wire. Reminds me of a sci-fi novel I once read, in which a prisoner convinced his alien captors that a bent piece of wire was a receiver to an interdimensional creature of superintelligence and dangerous powers. Long time ago, and I've forgotten the name of the book and the author. My dad would know. Wonder if that book has anything to do with me now, going after all the bent pieces of wire. A knot of copper wire this time. Nope, not with these tools. Might be about time to break out the wire snippers. Can't be the most interesting footage. There are coins to come, I'm just wondering why they're not downstream too, of where I know they are. Oof. 5, 10, 15 minutes, I've lost track, and it's quite frustrating. There is a lot of metal in these cracks, not necessarily by volume, by number of pieces, and most of it is stuck solid. I need to stand up for a bit. My back doesn't really like me crouching or crawling for extended periods. But a bit of a stretch and I'll be back at it. At some point I'll probably give up on the wire and concentrate my efforts on more interesting things. On the other side of the stream now, heading downstream, just seeing if it's got the same sort of concentration. And yeah, there's copper wire, brass screws, brass popper button and eyelets, I think. And of course, copper square nails, which I'm not quite bored of finding just yet, but you might be. I think that might be another one or two. This iron spike, I don't usually grab them, but one side of it looks very cool, which was the part in contact with flowing water. Perhaps it can... no. Oh well, this will be a marker pile and I'll find some more things. Another copper square nail, that's stuck for now. An area of nothing much. And then it starts up again with another square nail. Stuck but a little movement. Think I can get it with my fingers. Right, decision time. I think I should stop showing every nail or piece of wire. Only show them if we're in close proximity to coins or other interesting things. There have been exactly 2 pieces of wire since I said that, and I think I've just found the first coin of the day. Looking around now for sticks or stones, something to make a little marker pile. Leaves it is, and I will go and get my bag, the scraper and the trowel to try and get it out. Practice on a washer. I don't think wire clippers are the right tool for the job, so if I can't identify a coin as modern and ultimately uninteresting, then I'm not going to use these on them, even if that means leaving them for another day, just as I'm having to leave lots of little things. I will use the clippers on wire though, may as well since I've got them out. I found another coin, and this one I recognise already as a 2-pence piece. And it can't really have been in here for more than a few decades to be so loosely held. Yep, 2 pence. The second smallest value coin in current circulation, and worth a little bit more as scrap metal, though technically illegal to scrap it. This is the first coin, took quite some digging out, and it's been here a long time. The bit that was exposed has been considerably worn, and the bit that was encased is considerably less worn, but still hard to make out anything much. Well, I know I said no more copper square nails, but there's 2 there, and I haven't tried getting them out with wire clippers yet. Well, that was easy. And the other one... It's so much easier to extract things if I accept the easiest method, which stands a high chance of damaging what I'm trying to extract. I'm sure there are many more things left between the cobbles in this tunnel, but I'm equally sure that it's time to move on. Just spotted some glass rods sticking out. I wasn't expecting that. I really wasn't expecting this. It's tapered and fully intact at both ends. I have no idea what this was. Any ideas? Never found one before today, and it's just how this universe works that of course I almost immediately find a second one, about 2 meters from the first one. I'm pretty sure they're vintage glass, and I've waded this river before, scoured this beach before, never seen one. Now I'm kind of going to half expect to find a third. I like the mystery of the history of these now joined together buildings. Of course, now it is an often changing gallery of graffiti. Rarely ever the best graffiti. I think this is more a practice space than a real showing off of skills and creativity. Anyway, low quality or high, I don't mind. I just enjoy having a look around. Back down in the river and let's see what can be found. Coconut gently swaying, buffeted by the current. Coconut current on the theme of food, is that a carrot? No, Pitt's copper pipe. A bit of plumbing, probably discarded a decade or more ago. Wonder if the people that used the river as a dumping ground for building waste now regret throwing out the copper. Toy car. Is it a police car? Just giving it a wash. Yes, police, but not a livery I recognise, so maybe 70s, early 80s, giving away clues to how old I am there. Just stopping for some brass, looks like a filter of sorts, not sure what from. And for anyone who's noticed the disparate lighting levels, this is my backup head torch, not my Olight one, which I forgot to pack today. And while I'm walking, this is easier than wielding the studio light that I've also got today. So apologies for the graininess, the camera doesn't cope well without a good light source. Bits of plastic. Brass. Oh dear, don't think I'll be getting that back. Can't see it. Is that it? No, iron. Oh well, the riverbank giveth and the river taketh away. Back to where I was. That's looking definitely like a coin, and I think it's too big to be a modern 2p, so we'll have to dig that out carefully. Not having much success. When I get home, I'm gonna buy me a stone chisel. Another coin also looks quite stuck. Anything else? That was impossibly easy. Another hand-forged copper square nail. 2 out, and I haven't perfected my methodology yet. There's a scratch on both from the trowel. This one I think is a penny from the reign of King George V, and on the other side I could just make out the date, 1917, which isn't a bad find really for my first cobble hunt. The other one was harder to identify because it's in really rough condition, but I don't mind too much. It's fairly modern, a post-1968, pre-1992 10p piece with the outer nickel coating worn off. It's just an edge of something brass sticking out. I think it's a zip pull, and as such I don't mind using the brutal method. I think as well as the chisel I'll bring pliers next time, as well as my wire snips, which definitely have their place. I don't know if I'm going to be able to get both of these coins out. Impervious to the trowel, I think it's probably magnetite, formed from 2 stable states of oxidized iron. Not large crystals, but very small ones quite densely stuck together. A lot of iron in these cracks feeding the process, and gluing all the things I want into solid, hard to break up masses. A hammer and chisel might work, but for now I'm going to use what I've got and try breaking up the mass around them. I may be some time. Couldn't free those 2 coins, not this time, not without damaging them. I'm pretty sure that one is a modern 2p piece, the other might be silver and older, maybe even quite a lot older, so it can probably wait. I mean, who knows, there are coins stuck here besides me, and now thousands of viewers. 20p, about enough to buy not very much these days. This pool beneath a weir has a road up there, a bridge just behind me that I've just walked under, both places that people might possibly throw guns and knives and stolen safes from, and more likely some old iron will have washed down into it from upstream. I was just going to get my bag, which has the magnet in, and got distracted by some lead, and the amount of metal in between the cobbles does seem to be much higher than downstream, and it's looser too. Nothing much of interest so far, screws and nails. And that thing which looks a bit like the brake lever of a bike. This much just between the cobblestones, does that mean there's going to be a lot to find in the pool? Camera on my chest mount. First throw of my magnet. Here goes. It's got something. It's got something big, and that's really not what I wanted. I don't want to have big things to move out of here. Looks like a chair. Okay, I guess it's not bad for my first magnet throw. Hopefully, though, whatever else I find is smaller, older, more interesting. Second throw has something too. I felt the pull get heavier. Oops, there goes my low angle camera, and the magnet looks to have two things. Sorry, I'm not used to the chest mount and making sure it has a clear view. So, two things, an iron door handle and an ingot of iron. Wonder if it's pig iron, the first crude state of iron after its first refinement from ore. And the door handle is probably from one of the mills. It looks a bit like it might have been for a sliding door. Not sure. Anyone know better than me? A small steel wrench, maybe a bike tool, and almost certainly modern. Looks a bit like a fire poker, but no, just an iron bar. Going to drag it along beneath the arch of water. Anyone wondering about the big yellow thing? It's a float for my primary camera. Once too often had to reach shoulder deep in icy water to retrieve it. Got a block of something. Ferrous, obviously. Alright, let's see what it is. A nail, and lots of hot rocks on the one side, and on the other, I'm not sure. Ah, okay, it's starting to look a lot like part of an electromagnetic lock. There's a copper coil, and I think it was burnt out of the door. Plasma cutter, maybe. Another nail, and getting a lot of hot rocks. Hematite, magnetite, perhaps slag from ironworks. Okay, it's got a hold of something. Okay, that looks like about half of the rim of either a drain or perhaps a coal chute, made like a window frame anyway to cradle a lid. And loads more hot rocks. I think they might be most of what's directly under the waterfall. I've got something again, feels heavier than hot rocks. Looks like another solid iron ingot. Ooh, there's a nail attached too, glad I didn't skewer myself on it. Looks like there might have been a circular stamp mark in roughly the middle. Not exactly the most regular shape, I'm going with pig iron as my guess. I don't think it's got something heavy, I think there's a rock it's catching on, same place each time. Ooh, chain links. Unusual twists, is it from maybe a chain link fence? Or is it something else entirely, not even actually chain links? Guesses and actual knowledge are most welcome. I think I've crisscrossed the magnet over most of the floor of that pool and wasn't anywhere near as much iron as I was expecting, but I don't think my haul is at all bad for a first time out with a magnet. Some of this iron is old and mildly interesting. I'll try and take it all, but I'll only be keeping the ingots to use as ballast weights in model making. The rest, if I can get it out of here, will go straight to the municipal dump. I'm not going to build up a stash of iron and steel and sell it to the scrapyard. It is fun though, magnet fishing. I'll be doing it again sometime. More coins. Think they're low denomination and not particularly old, but I'll still take them. A roundup time. There's a small part of me that dreads what you might say, but I do want to hear your thoughts on this video in the comments. At times I felt like it was boring footage finding the same things ad nauseum. But that was the nature of the day. At first I found a lot of iron, then small bits of wire, then I found a lot of hand-forged copper square nails. That overlapped with finding a fair amount of well-stuck coins, then finally cast after cast after cast of a magnet brought up naught but hot rocks. Okay, admittedly I did find other things amongst these definite trends, but I'm still worried that it might have been boring. It was not a boring day from my perspective. There were a few firsts for me. First time showing off a teaser for a craft video I'm making. First time concerted search between cobblestones as a result of spotting 2 stuck coins on a previous visit. And it was my first time taking the magnet out for a spot of magnet fishing. I haven't as yet been out magnet fishing again, and I filmed this outing about 8 months ago. I do still definitely want to, and have at least 2 places lined up, but I'm itching to magnet fish, just waiting on a day which has no other impediment, and the river isn't too high and the weather is nice. Some eagle-eyed viewers might have noticed some legs in this video, other than mine. My girlfriend joined me for the magnet fishing portion of the outing. There was an unfilmed interlude while I left the river and went to get her. She enjoys the riverbank as much as I do, and she'll probably accompany me whenever I go single-location magnet fishing, as long as the access is relatively easy for her. And yes, she will have a go on the magnet, but she does not want to be filmed, and nor do I. Makes things a bit trickier to film, but I'm used to it. The finds from the outing, how best should I present them? Well, let's go with a simple form of mudlarking first. Those things that I generally found stood up, wandering around, using only my eyes and no tools. This is probably one of the most interesting looking pieces of cast iron I've found to date. I'm still not at all sure what its purpose was. I suspect it might have been something like a trivet, to rest something hot on, maybe a crucible of molten metal. There is a foundry on the road alongside that brook. I don't know for sure that it was there when this piece was made, and I'm probably wrong anyway. Does anyone know? There was another, much simpler version of it in the magnet fisher's pile of left-behind metal. Don't know if that had the same purpose, or even close to the same purpose. Though possibly a pickaxe, and possibly something else that's been corroded out of any resemblance to its original form, I think is too far gone to even try to restore. So scrap metal dumpster at the dump when next I go, unless I change my mind and give it a try. The Stanley knife is of course useful to me, no restoration needed. I did consider taking it into the hardware store that's upstream a ways, seeing if it had been shoplifted, but I didn't have the energy for that at the end of the lark, forgot I had it in the bag by the time I got home, and then left the bag in the car for more than a week, and then left the bag in the shed for about 2 months, I think, before I took it all out to soak and clean up. Quite lax of me, really. I found a bit of brass and quite a lot of copper wire, most of which did not make it into the film, some more lead, some copper sheeting. The most interesting brass thing I found, I thought I'd filmed the finding of, and I had, kind of. I'd accidentally gotten my camera onto time-lapse settings, which does happen far too often. It's a buckle, a webbing buckle, possibly military but no markings on it. Now, of the magnet fishing finds, I didn't keep much. Most of it got taken to the council-run recycling centre the next day and pitched into the open-top metal dumpster. I do not have the room to build up a stack of scrapables to sell to the scrapyard, apart from my big box of lead. Maybe it's something I would consider doing if I had suitable outdoor spaces or multiple sheds. Anyway, 2 ingots of what I think is probably pig iron. I did say what that is, didn't I? Refined from ore and sent out to foundries as ingots of raw material to be melted down again into final products. And I didn't get rid of the chain links because I still don't know what they're from, and I'm still mildly curious. Now, the central and biggest part of this video was a concerted hunt between the cracks and crevices between cobblestones for brass and copper relics. Off camera, I found this little escutcheon, this key fob, and this broken mini padlock. I found what is actually a very small amount of copper wire. It's certainly not worth the time and effort of pulling it out when you compare it to what I easily found without tools. The same can be said in retrospect about the small, generally unidentifiable bits of brass, which I didn't know were unidentifiable before pulling them out. This iron spike still looks interesting, almost organic. I think what has happened is, it's oxidized in 2 ways, the common form of rust on the bottom, and magnetite formed on the top, where it was in contact with the stream. I don't yet understand the chemistry of how. I found a lot of modern metal in my search for old and interesting, and may as well take it. Brass screws are good scrap metal for my forge, and so are modern electrical connectors made mostly of copper. Now the square nails, all but 2 of these I think are hand-forged, which means that long-dead blacksmiths made them from wire, and some of them will be hundreds of years old. There has been a settlement there for at least 950 years. The industry along the brook didn't really kick off until the early 15th century when some Flemish weavers settled there, and I think it's safe to say it's quite possible some of these date from between then and a few centuries later when the walls and the cobbles were laid. and even the ones that I think might have been machine-made are probably at least a century old. The coins for the most part are not nearly as old. There is a little interest to be found in them though. The oldest identifiable one is a penny from 1917, that's over 100. The first coin I found was a halfpenny with the same portrait of King George V, but the date was worn away, probably within a few years of the 1917 penny. One is an out-of-circulation 10p piece, one is a very badly damaged farthing, no date left on it, and two of them are peeling. I mean that there is an outer layer of thin copper metal which is peeling away at the edges from an inner core of something kind of soft and crumbly. They're mangled to the point that I can't make out any dates. The remaining clues suggest that they were low denomination, a 1p and a 2p. I'm not sure if genuine coins ever were, or were never made like that. It would be quite remarkable if they were fakes. So, any numismatist watching, can you tell me? And lastly, and of perhaps the least interest, I found 32p in currently spendable currency, though the 5p piece is missing its outer nickel layer that protects it from easily being mistaken for a 1p piece. I do hope that you've enjoyed this quite different video, and if you have, and if you'd like me to go further upstream where there are more cobblestones, more tunnels, more weirs to magnet fish, including one that's in the tunnel beneath a chocolate factory, then please do say so. It was quite a challenge to film this one, and quite a lot more than usually challenging to edit it. So although I do plan to go there on another relic and coin hunt, if there's not really much interest, then I might choose to not film when I do. So more than usually, any appreciation or complaint that you wish to express is greatly appreciated. A big thank you to everyone who has watched my videos, pressed the like button, the subscribe button, written a comment, replied to somebody else's comment, shared a link to my videos on another platform. It truly does all help. A really big thank you to all of the kind people who have donated through Ko-fi, Super Chats during premieres and Super Thanks on video pages. It all goes back into the kit, the tools, the materials and the travel for future videos, as does the ad revenue. Most recently a bit of it went to buying some heavy-duty stone-cutting chisels for my next visit there, so maybe I should film it regardless of whether there's much expressed interest, but please do still say. Finally, thank you all very much for watching, and for now, goodbye.